Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Revert's World on Ahlulbayt TV. Today our honoured guest is Bilal Ali, who has been telling us about his inspirational story as to how he became a Muslim. And we just, before the break of Bilal, we got up to the point where you were contemplating when to actually do the deed, if you like.
Yes.
And you were mentioning how you made the intention. I found it quite funny when you told me of taking your shahada at Christmas, and it was pointed out to you that, well, you might not make it to Christmas.
Absolutely.
And this got you thinking. So if you could just carry on from there, please.
Okay, yeah. So I was wrestling really because I felt like morally and spiritually, intellectually, it's something that I knew I had to do of my own conscience, but I didn't really feel prepared, you know, to take my shahada, but I felt like I needed to. But that statement from Fidelis really made me it cranked it up that bit more. For me, it became real. And I remember being with the same brothers, Muhammad, Shafiq, the whole lot, who we went to see Sheikh Said Musavi, I believe it was. And I was debating with him about, because I used to hang out with these brothers, they were all Muslim, but I just be with them, yeah. And I was started to debate with him about, why did the Muslims say that, Muhammad is the greatest, and what about Jesus and all the prophets are equal or whatever. So he kind of clicked him that, I don't have that insight, I don't have that understanding. So, a Muslim, why don't you should take a shahada now, because you're obviously at that stage, you should take a shahada now. But there was just something about, I don't know, my gut feeling of just not wanting to take my shahada then, and not wanting, maybe it was just my nafs and what he had said to me. I just, I didn't want to take my shahada with him. But I remember still having that Christianity mentality was still there. So I had to find some kind of symbolism of a baptism or something. So what was the next best thing? We'll take you shahada at Jummah. Because, you don't just take your shahada at the man's house or in the kitchen or something like that. From my mentality, it has to be some kind of spectacular, grandiose. Is there water? What entails the shahada? They used to tease me and say like, yeah, we'll get the knife out, and like silly little, playing games with me, playing like, just having a laugh, having a laugh and that. But so I agreed, yeah, to take my shahada at Jummah. Muhammad asked the sheikh to make an announcement just before the Jummah prayers, and they said, okay, yeah, the brother can do that, but you'll have to put him at the side of the Jamaat. You can pray with us, put him at the side. Technically, and then we'll make the shahada, we'll make it official, make it formal after. And so that's what I did at Church Lane, Madara Jafri. Alhamdulillah, in October '92, I took my shahada, and
Alhamdulillah,
my life just changed internally.
Alhamdulillah, congratulations. And how was it with regards to the classic question? I'm sure you've been asked it many times before. After taking your shahada, you're from a Christian background, your parents are Christian, your siblings are Christian, and then all of a sudden they've got a Muslim son. What was the reaction of your parents? I mean, was this something that you discussed with them beforehand, or was it a case of afterwards you told them, and if so, how did they react?
I think my parents always knew that I was going to take my shahada or embraces, or there was a strong possibility, because I would be debating with him and raising issues, especially when you come into certain information at a young age in particular that has been, I wouldn't say hidden, but you just haven't been exposed to. So you become infused, you become excited, you got this energy of youth, plus the information is powerful. So I would be charged up and was discussing with here, there and everywhere with everybody. And not just that, but Islam was in the atmosphere at that time, because it was in the music.
Yes.
In today's music, mainstream music, what's played on radio is filth, is mindless music. I'm not saying all the music was great and rich and meaningful, but it was common to have Islamic ideas, black nationalist ideas, social, political ideas in the music. So it was in the atmosphere. So I think my parents anticipated I may go that way. And when I took my shahada and I told my mum about it, it was more like, oh, so you went and did that, did you? Like, that kind of, you did it after all then kind of thing. So there was a disappointment, because my mum's a very, God bless her, like she's a very, very staunch, very strong Christian lady. Very strong. And I think that I've inherited some of her spirit.
Of course.
Maybe it's manifested in a different way, but I've inherited some of her strong spirit.
I think that's a very important point you've raised, because our parents in most cases may not be Muslim, but the fact that we are here today talking about Islam as two Muslims has got, and any other revert for that matter, has got a lot to do with your parents, because it's the way in which your parents bring you up. If they brought us up to be, you know, very bad people, we wouldn't have looked twice at Islam. So, you know, I think that's an important point you've mentioned there. Now, I know also that this was around about the same time that you then started to go back into education, because you were in your 20s.
Yeah, early 20s, yeah.
Early 20s. Was it because of Islam, or was it because of all of these different, if you like, ideologies that you'd come across that had influenced you to go back into study? And I know you studied a law degree, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was my first degree.
What was the influence that that made you or pushed you back into education?
A few factors. I'd become a father around that time, and so I felt I just needed to be constructive with my life. I used to be a painter and decorator. That was my first trade. I've done a number of jobs, but that was my main trade as a youngster coming up. And you know, it was a good living at the time. And but I just felt like I just wanted something a bit more. I remember that my friend that introduced me into reading. This young lady that introduced me to reading. She was I think she's a barrister now, like a top-notch barrister now. We're not in contact, but she was a student at the time. She was at university at the time. We used to discuss things, and she used to say, you know, I'd say, you know, well, yeah, she didn't try to encourage me to say go back to college and go back to school and do X, Y, Z. And I used to say, yeah, it's good for you to say that because you're bright and stuff like that. You got it like that. You got it easy. She goes, no, I'm not particularly bright. I just work hard. She goes, you know, you're more intelligent than me. I'm thinking I couldn't really get with that, because I was thinking she's a lawyer, you know, she's starting to become a lawyer, she's on a degree. I didn't even go to college. I didn't left school with no qualifications, whatever. But you know, it made me think. She said, you know, I just work hard. So it didn't necessarily make me think, oh, I'm some great guy, but it just made me think, well, okay, kind of like impacts on my sense of self. And I just enrolled for a college course and wanted to do English as a basis. But I did have law in mind from there on. And I think it was also reading Malcolm X and him saying that he wanted to be a lawyer. And the way that he would operate seemed kind of very lawyer-esque, or like, you know, like how lawyers operate, very sharp-witted, very intelligent, very articulate. You know, people that can think quick on their feet.
Sure. And
you know, looking in society, you know, I did work out. You know, these politicians, they all seem to have some kind of law background, but you know, there's power, and how power is kind of encapsulated within like a legal framework. So, you know, like, so I always thought of the lawyers as kind of smart people. So I never went on to become a lawyer, but I did find it an enriching experience to do a degree in law, and, you know, get my first degree in law, and it was good.
Alhamdulillah. And so obviously you didn't continue with that after your degree. You did a master's in
politics, because while I mean, I guess I was always interested in politics, but law was a kind of route through, just to get an understanding of the society that you live in. I mean, I read like Dajjal would always talk about the law, you know, talk about the political framework and stuff like that. So you know, there was always this connection between the two subjects and stuff like that. So I went on to read law as a master's, and I just branched off in another direction. Continued to study in one way or another over the years, and I've completed a higher professional diploma in counselling, so I'm a trained counsellor, and at the moment I'm studying psychotherapy, and that's more where I see, you know, myself going, employing them sort of skills.
Okay. And in terms of, you know, after you finish your studies, you know, where did it lead you in terms of a career? I mean, I know you're still studying, still developing yourself educationally, but just in terms of maybe after the masters, you know, where did it lead you to, and what experiences or what did you draw from your now new ideology, if you like, or let's call it a way of life, because it's an all-encompassing religion, Islam, to your work life?
I guess just a sense of I don't know, really just being calm and confident, just a kind of internal stillness that I think as a Muslim that's what it's given me in my professional life. And obviously I have, as we spoke earlier on about, you know, I have a lot of aspirations and a lot of ambition, even at my age, to do more. But I think that's what Islam gave me, is a confidence and to believe. Well, I always believed in Allah from a child, probably from my mother's womb. I believed in Allah, but in the way that I was born and exposed to, it was an understanding from another paradigm, from another perspective, but the connection with Allah was always there. And you know, now, you know, that connection is stronger, inshallah, and I'm just trying to, it's you know, we spoke about, we don't like disrespect Christianity, or we don't diss that ideology, or that theology, but it's just a case of when you're a child, you wear short trousers, and as you grow up to be a man, you know, you wear, you know, adult attire. So that was good for that time, and it's given me a foundation to step onto something that is real.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Now, obviously, you became a Muslim in 1992.
That's right.
And, you know, I became a Muslim a couple of years after you in 1994. And the reason why I'm mentioning 1992 specifically is because I wanted to glean from you what your experiences of, if you like, born Muslims, if we can say that in inverted commas, was at the time, and you know, not just at the time but throughout these 18 years or so, 17 and a half years or so, what your experience has been, whether it's been on an individual level, on an institutional level, etc.
Variety of experiences, not all good, to be honest with you. I think the Muslims that I've known from, that I've met and made acquaintances and friendships with over the years, from Muslim backgrounds, Sunni or Shia, whatever, that you know, as individuals, I've met some nice individuals. I think at a institutional level, I struggled initially when I became Muslim, because I read about what Islam represents and the example of the Prophet and the example of the Imam, alayhi salam. And, you know, so it's a tall order to stand up to, or, you know, you have an expectation of what is taught and what is expected of us. And I guess between, as I mentioned, between the idea and the practice, there's a shadow, and I kind of found myself and the brothers from a similar background as myself in the shadow, and feeling that we need to emerge from the shadow and into the light. And so I feel like, you know, on an institutional level, there's been disappointment, there's been let down, there's been inability to show that Islamic hospitality. But we've been saying that disappointment, by the grace of Allah knows best, there's always been, wherever I've gone, somebody, few brothers, maybe just one brother, always been in a minority in my experience, who have shown that warmth, that brotherhood, the ikhwan, you know, and come and approached you and, you know, asked you, or whatever, just, you know, made some sort of gesture that we are one in this, so, you know, you're at home. Whereas the majority, you know, at times, it used, as a young man, I suppose, it used to bug me out a bit, because of the cold shoulder, the funny looks or whatever, those kind of things would kind of impact on me. Whereas, I mean, I don't know if I'm hardened, if I've grown up, I'm not sure, but I kind of just get on with my business now. And
do you feel like it's changed over the years, or would you say that it's the same as it was 18 years ago?
No. In my humble opinion, it's definitely changed. I don't think it's where it should be. I don't think it's where it could be, but I've definitely seen change. For me to say that things have and things haven't changed, that would be a lie. That would be deceitful of me, because if it's I remember mentioning this to one of the younger brothers that I was speaking with recently, that's maybe taking a shahada like 2 years now, and I was saying, you maybe don't understand what it was like back in the day. I said, if you think it's lukewarm now, that might be an accurate description, but between lukewarm and freezing cold, it's a big difference. And I'm saying it used to be freezing, but now it's lukewarm. Now a brother cracks a smile. Now there's some of the young brothers making more of an effort, or just feel relaxed, or, you know, these Reversion brothers are around, they've been, you know, we're familiar. So, you know, as people relaxing a little bit coming out themselves or whatever. But back in the day, you know, you really felt outside, you really felt, until one or two individuals would come and say, hey, Assalamu alaikum, I haven't seen you, where was you last week, or, you know. So things definitely have changed. Definitely changed.
Alhamdulillah. Now, I know also that you're heavily involved with the ARC organisation, the Ahlulbayt revert community. If you could just touch on, you know, what your intentions or your ambitions were, or what encouraged you, what enthused you to get involved in the first place, and what your goals and objectives are on an individual level for the organisation.
Okay, on an individual level, I think my perspective was and is that we as in reverts, those my brothers sometimes refers to us as new Muslims, even after 70 years, but I know what he means. Yeah, he means it with love. But I feel that we as reverts, we need to sort of do something for self, and really something that deals with Islam, but from a cultural point of reference, and you know, many of the reverts, especially the brothers that took Shahada around the time that, you know, I did, or a little before me or a little after me, they come from a similar background, as in, you know, African Caribbean background. So what we have in common is that we embrace Islam in the adult years, because not everybody is African Caribbean.
True.
So the common denominator is Islam. But, you know, we have a culture, so we too want to live our culture, and we too want to definitely be Muslim. So we need to establish a kind of environment where it's inclusive, not exclusive, but there's a cultural awareness and a relaxation, if you will, and not trying to be something that you're not. You know, being yourself and accepting your own, and just being Muslim. You know, but if in the future we are able to really manifest a good example in terms of the way of being, but also leave an institution for, because many of us have children. You know, I myself and my father of 6, so I don't know, there's brothers that have even more children than me or less children, but, you know, many of us are parents now. That it's very important that we leave some sort of institution in terms of, you know, collateral, methodology, practice, you know, so on and so forth.
I think that's an important point as well, because I think for us, having converted to Islam, you know, we're quite comfortable with, you know, the culture here, as well as being Muslim, you know, and we can not, you know, we're not two-faced in terms of, you know, we can move from one to the other, but obviously
quite comfortably.
Yeah, of course, because naturally we're natives of this country. But I do worry sometimes for our children, because, you know, obviously, as you know, as growing up as a youth, it can have a detrimental effect on one's being. So obviously this is something that you've mentioned we would need to look at, inshallah. May Allah give us the tawfiq to, as you say, lay something down for the next generation, inshallah. As a father, now let's just focus on that for a moment. Again, talking about what I've just mentioned, you know, the aspirations that you have for your children. Obviously you want them to be Muslim, you want them to be devout Muslim, and obviously they're going to be members of the society, which is perfectly fine by us. How do you see yourself, well, you are in the process obviously of doing that, because your children are growing up by the day. How are you putting this in place? I mean, how is it working out for you? I guess I'm asking almost from a personal perspective as well, because as you know, I only have the one child and he's very young at the moment, and this is one of my concerns about, like, how am I going to put in place a system or a surrounding an environment whereby they're going to grow up as confident individuals, but also very strong to the faith of Islam and the Ahlulbayt, peace and blessing be upon them.
I guess to the best of my ability, it's been a struggle, because it's, the society isn't Muslim, and on top of that, you know, most Muslims in this country are not Shia Muslims, are not followers of Ahlulbayt. So it's been tough. But what I've tried to do is just to be the best example I can, to you know, expose my children to as much, you know, Islam as possible, and in a way that they can understand, and to definitely avoid being sectarian and getting into that kind of vibe, that whole vibe thing. Yeah, have your identity, be aware that, you know, you are followers of Ahlulbayt and who the Ahlulbayt are, but you know, somebody's Muslim, then, you know, leave it as that, alhamdulillah, and just, you know, try and be at one with the Muslims that are around you, you know. And that has been my method, really.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you. And in terms of your work, what influence has Islam had on your work?
It's encouraged me to go and study, and particularly or train as a counsellor, and I found that, you know, in my counselling work, it was a very strong spiritual aspect. I mean, I studied person-centered counselling or client-centered counselling, the Rogerian model, and you know, this guy Carl Rogers, he took some ideas in developing the school of counselling from, you know, Eastern philosophy, some Buddhism, some different ideas. So, you know, some of the concepts resonate, you know, quite similar to kind of Islamic practice, quite a spiritual type of, you know, the critics, you know, charge it for that, you know, a bit airy-fairy. You know, they want some people want something more direct and more kind of instructive, whereas it's very, very, very spiritual, peaceful type of counselling. Okay.
Now, with regards to this counselling, Because I remember doing a show recently with a brother, and we were talking about addiction and the problems in society for addiction. And I was obviously, as you know, Muslims are not immune from the ills of society.
Sure.
Do you feel that we need to start thinking along the lines of social workers who are Muslim social workers? Now, not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean that all their clients would be Muslim, but they're looking, we're trying to, for example, a course is developed whereby you're merging Islam and counselling to help the Muslims and anybody else in society. Is this something you would go along with?
Yeah, I think that particularly the caring professions. I mean, and there is that tradition, in terms of Muslim doctors, as in GPs, but like people in the psychiatric professions and so forth. There is that strong tradition of Muslims being involved in that area, and I think it should continue and branch out into other caring professions in particular. I mean, we're part of the society. We pay taxes, we raise our children here, regardless of what people say. We're here to stay, really. So, we just need to be mature about it. And there are those that like a headline or cause a little excitement, but we're here to stay, and we just need to be involved to avoid, because people get the wrong idea. Ignorance breeds when there's unfamiliarity, but when people are familiar and aware, our presence increases the general public's awareness of Islam and Muslims, and we can be that positive example. So
okay, and finally, I wanted to ask you about Hajj, because I know that you went to Hajj a couple of years or so ago. What your experiences were. Was this a second rebirth, or if not a second rebirth? I mean, obviously it must have had some positive effects, and what they were. Did it change your concept, perception of Islam, etc., etc.?
No, the Hajj was, overall the Hajj was a beautiful experience, and it was a moving experience. I remember coming home and my wife just, she smiled, she was laughing, and she was saying, "I know you went somewhere." But she didn't just mean like you went on a plane. She could see in my being that there was a different presence. She said, "You went somewhere serious as well." I could see, it was just there to be seen, and it was a beautiful experience. It wasn't like the story of Malcolm X, where it was all he shared with brothers that he wouldn't have spoken to, and European. I didn't have that. It wasn't that type of experience for myself, and even hearing other people's stories about the whole Hajj and the visit in Medina and stuff like that. I'm not sure which points, according to the textbook or according to what people commonly say, are supposed to be most meaningful, but some of the most enriching parts of the whole experience for me was, like, for example, visiting the Prophet's mosque, peace upon him, at Fajr, and going, just making my own ziyarat to the Prophet and stuff like that. Just absolutely mind-blowing. Remember saying to Brother Khalil after that, like, the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, he's still in charge of Medina. Like, he's still in charge of Medina. Like, how, to actually go and make ziyarat, and his spirit, he's a very, very strong individual. He's and that had a profound effect on me after I was spent Fajr there, and I, just remember being in tears, and staying there till, Zohar, till I got lost. The hotel was just across the road, but I was so absorbed, and that the hotel would have been just like, turn around, walk 100 meters, and then take a right turn. But I spent hours, I was lost, I was walking around, and nobody speaks English. Nobody speaks English there, so I was lost. So that was quite before even going. That was before going to Mecca. So that was quite a rich experience. The Ummah Tamatu, the minor Umrah, should I say, not Ummah, the Umrah, the minor Umrah that we did on the first day of entering into Mecca. Just powerful, some really powerful memories. The points where you get changed, the various points you enter the holy city, and you have to get changed that.
Yes,
and so you make the niyat before you leave the hotel. You make you do all the necessaries, but then actually changing into the ihram. And I remember brother saying that if anybody's rude to you, anybody's funny with you, be expected that to be patient. Example, sabr. You're the students of Ahlulbayt, so you have to just be this way. And don't get caught up with anybody if anybody asks you questions or try to give you a difficult time. But it was just beautiful. We made our 2 rakats. And just to see all the Muslims in white, the sisters, the brothers in the ihram, power, like just power. I'm talking like, when you think to yourself, have I died and I made it to Jannah? Like, am I in Jannah though? Is this some point I've passed and something's happened? Because it was just, and people reciting the Quran and Labbaik, Allah, Allah, Umar, it's just Serious, just serious. There's some points when I felt down, I felt tested with the pushing and the shoving, and you know, at Mina I got a couple stones in my head, but I was warned. I was forewarned that you go in, go to the front, you stone the shaitan, and when you leave, you come out with your head down. You come out low. But I was so, you know, ecstatic in the last stone, and Allahu Akbar, and I came out and bang, bang, and I just, you know, that's you know, follow instructions and come out low. Because, you know, some Muslims there are, you know, pretty zealous. They think shaitan's actually, they think shaitan's there, you know. But, you know, alhamdulillah, that I went with a Qadr group of Muslims that organised. It was various people from various backgrounds, but it was mostly the Qadr brothers and sisters. But they showed love, showed respect, which is important, and got to make a few good friends from different places as well, like Canada and America and stuff like that. People that I probably wouldn't have, you know, met other than it was that type of experience. So it was good. It was very, very good.
Alhamdulillah, nice to hear that. And just to round up, I mean, basically, I just would like you to just in a couple of sentences, maybe if you've got a message or some words of advice to our viewers out there, inshallah.
Words of advice, dare I say, I mean, all I could say is to the newly converted Muslims or those who are watching this program that are considering becoming a Muslim, I would say just, you know, be true to the faith and stick to the example of the Prophet and the Ummah as your example, the members of Ahlulbayt as your example primarily. You know, we meet personalities in our day-to-day lives that may be good people, but don't get caught up in personality because, you know, you know, sometimes people may not be infallible and you want to hold it against them when they're not infallible. So, you know, don't get caught up in personality too much. And to the people that are watching that are already Muslim from Muslim backgrounds and that, you know, I would just say in your interactions, just, you know, as all of us actually as people, just to be considerate and really just listen to people, you know, not to patronize, but to really listen to what people are saying, and we can have a better communication with each other.
Inshallah. Thank you very, very much, Brother Bilal Ali. I'm sure our viewers have enjoyed your story. It's been an inspiration for me, despite the fact that I'm a revert as well. It was very, very beneficial to hear your story as well. And I thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart for taking the time out.
For having me, man. Thanks for
taking the time out to be with us. I just would like to remind our viewers, if you have any comments, suggestions for the show, then you can email revertsworld@ahlulbayt.tv, and we'll be back same time next week, 7 p.m. on Wednesday, with another show, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.